The United States Pacific Fleet has drawn up a plan for a major show of force as a warning to China that will indicate its determination to counter Beijing's military activity, it was reported on Thursday amid rising tension over the disputed South China Sea. The plan would see planes and ships passing close to Chinese-claimed waters in the South China Sea and Taiwan Strait in a freedom of navigation operation, CNN reported, citing several unnamed U.S. defense officials. The proposal means U.S. ships and aircraft will be operating close to Chinese forces and is expected to trigger a strong reaction from Beijing. China's defense ministry did not immediately comment on the report, but a Chinese diplomatic observer said that by expanding its operations from the South China Sea to the Taiwan Strait, the U.S. was escalating the confrontation. The observer also predicted that China would step up its military presence in both areas. The proposal is being driven by the military, but CNN noted that carrying it out in early November when the U.S. midterm elections are taking place could have political implications for the Trump administration if the U.S. troops are challenged by China. Beijing has previously criticized freedom of navigation operations by the U.S. in the South China Sea as an infringement of its territorial sovereignty. Tensions are running high between the U.S. and Chinese militaries over the disputed waters, parts of which are also claimed by the Philippines, Vietnam, Malaysia, Brunei and Taiwan. The U.S. Navy continues its exercises in the western Pacific Ocean despite the postponement of multinational maneuvers because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Last week the Air Force and Marines conducted training exercises near China amid increased tensions in the region, the site of competing maritime claims. In the nearby Philippine Sea, 3 submarines joined ships and aircraft of the U.S. 7th Fleet for a joint advanced warfighting training exercise. The actions are, in part, a show of force in an area of competing maritime claims, and a reaction to Chinese harassment of the ship drilling for resources in waters claimed by China, which the United States and other countries regard as international waters. Vice Admiral Bill Merz, 7th Fleet Commander, said the United States will operate in South China Sea waters wherever international law permits. Routine presence operations, like Gabrielle Giffords, reaffirms the U.S. will continue to fly and sail freely, in accordance with international law and maritime norms, regardless of excessive claims or current events, said Merz. The U.S. supports the efforts of our allies and partners in the lawful pursuit of their economic interests. The Philippine Sea exercise involved exercises in surface, subsurface, amphibious operations, reconnaissance and surveillance specialties. It concentrated on integrated exercises between submarines and surface vessels, to develop warfighting concepts, improve maritime lethality, and enable real-world proficiency and readiness, a 7th Fleet statement said last week. Over the last few weeks U.S. Navy ships and Air Force B-1 bombers have undertaken missions aimed at sending a very public message that the U.S. military intends to maintain a presence in the region and reassure allies. It's also a top priority for the Pentagon to get the virus-stricken aircraft carrier USS Theodore Roosevelt back out to sea in the region by as soon as the end of the month. The moves come as the U.S. is increasing the pressure diplomatically, with President Donald Trump and Secretary of State Mike Pompeo publicly attacking Beijing for failing to stem the virus's spread and not being transparent during the early stages of the outbreak, which originated in the country. The Pentagon accused China of exploiting the pandemic to gain military and economic advantages by expanding the areas in which it operates. The People's Republic of China is attempting to use the regional focus on COVID to assertively advance its own interests, U.S. Navy Captain Michael Kafka, a spokesperson for the U.S. military's Indo-Pacific Command, told CNN in a statement on Wednesday. And the Pentagon made clear the coronavirus outbreak has not hurt its ability to respond to Chinese actions. We have the capability and capacity to provide long-range fires anywhere, anytime, and can bring overwhelming firepower even during the pandemic, said General Timothy Ray, commander of the Air Force Global Strike Command, which oversees the bomber force in the area. On Wednesday, the Navy Pacific Fleet took the unusual step of announcing that all of its submarines in the region were at sea conducting operations in support of a free and open Indo-Pacific region amidst the pandemic caused by the coronavirus. While the U.S. military recently ended its continual bomber presence on the Pacific island of Guam for the first time since 2004, the U.S. Air Force has continued to dispatch bombers to the region. In recent weeks, the U.S. flew B-1 bombers from bases in the U.S. to the region on 3 separate occasions, including an operation over the South China Sea and a deployment of 4 B-1 bombers and 200 personnel from Dyess Air Force Base in Texas to Guam. Late last month, the U.S. Navy also challenged Chinese claims to the waters surrounding the Spratly and Paracel Islands in the South China Sea, contested islands that the U.S. has long said China is using to house weapons and military facilities. Those challenges drew a sharp rebuke from Beijing, who urged the U.S. to focus on its coronavirus response and to cease such military operations. China urges the United States to focus on its own business with pandemic prevention and control, make more contributions to the global fight against the COVID-19, and immediately stop military operations that are detrimental to regional security, peace and stability, Senior Colonel Li Huaman, spokesperson for the People's Liberation Army Southern Theater Command, said in a statement. On Wednesday, a U.S. Navy-guided missile destroyer, the USS McCampbell, transited the Taiwan Strait. The ship's transit through the Taiwan Strait demonstrates the U.S. commitment to a free and open Indo-Pacific, Lieutenant Anthony Junko, a spokesperson for the U.S. Navy's 7th Fleet, told CNN. The U.S. routinely sails through the Taiwan Strait, but the Chinese military views the strategic waterway separating China from Taiwan as a priority area and often shadows U.S. vessels that sail through the area. China routinely protests U.S. Navy activities in the region, and often dispatches ships or aircraft to shadow the U.S. vessels. Following the U.S. Freedom of Navigation operation that challenged Chinese claims to the Paracel Islands late last month, Chinese officials said the U.S. was engaging in provocative acts that could easily trigger an unexpected incident. China also appears to be using its military to send a message that it is capable of operating at longer distances for greater periods to challenge its neighbors and the U.S. The U.S. says China's only operational aircraft carrier entered the South China Sea last week along with several other warships.